So welcome back to MIDAS. Welcome back, everybody. It's great to see you all again, even though I can't see you. I can see your names on the screen, so it's nice to see some old faces or some old names and some new ones. So welcome back, and a lot's happened since our last series in July. So this is brought to you by the Master Inn Holders. And for those of you who may not be familiar with us, the Master Inn Holders is a leading force within the hotel industry. And they're a standard bearer for the industry. They're offering career-changing training and support through a number of initiatives funded and supported by Master Inn Holders, and this is one of them. And the aim is to influence standards and extend professionalism within the industry to promote consideration and discussion and study and research in the areas predominantly for hotel management. So if you're on this afternoon and you're not in a hotel but you're still in hospitality, we can still help you. We're still here for you, but our main interest in terms of development is in the hotel industry, hotel management, including management development, training, education and recruitment. So if you want to join us, we've made a interactive slideshow. So if you've got an iPhone, you can photograph that QR code and you're joined straight away on your phone, because you're going to be doing some voting and some interactive stuff. Or just go to ahaslides.com and join under MIDAS Nov, which is MIDAS November. So if you want to be doing that now for your phone, on your phone, or on a tablet, then you can join us for some of the interactive stuff, make it a bit more interesting. So welcome back to MIDAS. So what was on the cards for today, or for this hour, is on today's agenda, we've got the topic of career development. So this is topical for a number of reasons. Firstly, it appeared at the top of requests from those of you who are kind enough to fill in our survey at the end of the last series. And secondly, it's becoming more and more relevant to encourage everyone in our industry to generally build better, bolder and braver post-pandemic. And that includes career building and making the most of all the opportunities that are being created right now. There's a lot of opportunities. It's tough out there, we know. There's also a lot of opportunities being created right now in the industry. And hospitality is a professional career. It's not just a job. It's a professional career. And the better we all become at fully recognising and promoting that fact, the more likely we are to attract and retain the talent that we need. And that's both now and in the future. And thirdly, it's a good time to think about our careers as the calendar rolls on, because as we approach the end of one year and begin planning for the next, we were just having a little conversation just now before we started about this time last year, we were just preparing for yet another lockdown. And this time, this year, it's a good time to be thinking about our careers and planning for the next year. So welcome if you have just joined us, and I'll show you the slides again. If you want to join with your iPhone, then you can scan the QR code, or you can go to ahaslides.com, MIDAS November, excuse me, MIDAS Nov, and go into the interactive parts there. Sorry, I've had the cold and it's left me with a cough. Okay, so if you want to be interactive, then you can follow this on your iPhone or on your tablet. Thank you. So career development. So this afternoon, what we're going to cover is a bit of what, why, how, and where next. So I think, what do we mean by career development? What's the definitions, for example? Why might we be wanting to do this? How might we value ourselves? How to do it, some hints and tips for doing it. And then next, some other MIDAS support and other Master Inn Holder support that you might be able to avail yourself of to help you with your career development. So that's where we're going this afternoon. I've got Chris on hand as usual, Chris Todd, our lovely Chris, to help field questions and comments and things. So please feel free to ask questions, join in. You can either do that through the chat on the Zoom call, or you can do it through the slides. Either is up to you. So a bit of structure for our time. So career development. Well, before we start on how, let's spend a bit of time on what it might be and tickling our personal concept of a career, because I think it means different things to different people. And very often this meaning of what a career means has its roots in your upbringing, in your family of origin, in our, or mostly from a pretty substandard experience at school, maybe from that careers advice that we had at 15, 16, whatever age we were when we went for careers advice. And it's a bit of a concept, really, career. It's not really a solid thing. And so career development is a process of choosing a career, improving your skills and advancing along a career path. That's a kind of traditional view of career development. And it's a lifelong process of learning and decision making that brings you closer to your ideal job and your skill set and lifestyle. So that's a sort of fairly standard meaning. But I love the word career because it depends on how you use it. So career as a noun is an occupation undertaken for a significant period of a person's life and with opportunities for progress. So it's the opportunities, it's our life, it's my career is this. But if you use it as a verb, to career, he careers, she careers, etc., it means to move swiftly and in an uncontrolled way. I don't know about you, but my career has been more of a career than a career. Yeah, you too, Wallace, huh? So I think this whole word career is rather fun to play with. So it means different things to different people, and it's okay to kind of career through your career. I've enjoyed pretty much every month of mine, if not every moment, and I still wonder what I'll do when I grow up. So it means different things to different people. So let's have a look at some of the options and opportunities that we can career through. So let's continue with this concept of career for a little while. So one of the first questions to think about with your career is, what are you? Are you hare or tortoise? Are we in for this for long term or short term? What are my thoughts about my career? Do I see myself as a hare or a tortoise? Do you see your career as a race to the top? Or do you see your career as something that's a bit more steady, that you're going to take it a bit more steady? And these are things that you may not have thought about before, because I don't think we really do, because career is a concept. It depends on a whole load of things, how we think about it. It's important to remember a couple of things, though. One is that it is your career. No one else's, it's your career. And two is that in this wonderful world of hospitality, we can accommodate all manner of types and preferences. So if we are in learning development, in HR, for example, I think it's worth challenging our own concepts about career, because I think we need to be a whole lot more flexible in the future about what a career looks like. In hospitality, we literally have enough career ladders and paths to reach the moon and back, and probably more than once. We've got many, many ways of building careers in this industry. So what does that look like when we talk about building careers? Well, there are different types. There's 4 basic types of traditional careers, which you're probably familiar with. So firstly, we have linear careers. So those are possibly the most familiar and well accepted. You get a single career path. It requires new initiatives or growth or responsibility, and accepting new roles as every unique opportunity entails a more significant impact of responsibility and decision-making power. So we're making our way up the ladder or along the path. And often that linear career is associated with material success. The more we do, the more we earn. And that's conventional moving upwards in power and status over time. But the trouble with the linear career is it tends to lock us into a single path. It's a very traditional way of looking at careers. And that was probably, depending on what age you left school, what age you stood in front of that career teacher at school, that's probably what they're encouraging you to do, because that's very generational to have a linear career and to have your pension at the end. There's a kind of subset of those linear careers, which is a steady state career. And that means you're working towards retirement with a specialised skill set learned throughout our entire lives. There's fewer steps in the ladder. So maybe you're a doctor or a solicitor or a lawyer. So it's an expert or a dentist or an optician. Fewer steps in the ladder, and that's an expert and clearly defined career path. A steady straight line. A chef, for example, in our terms, driven by perfecting skills, mastering their craft, and becoming an expert in their own field. And sometimes we get trapped in that in hotels as well. I hear this, I want to be a GM by the time I'm 12. In my day, it used to be I want to be a GM by the time I'm 40, and then it dropped down a bit, so I want to be a GM by the time I'm 30. And nowadays it's I want to be a GM by the time I'm 25, And I think by next year it'll be I want to be a gem by the time I'm 12. A very linear career. But in hotels, in hospitality, we have many types of careers. So there's other types of careers as well to finish off our collection. There's a spiral career. So when we're on a spiral career path, it's all about learning and knowledge. It's all about seeking challenges and experiences and creative and motivated by personal growth. People on a spiral career find their own underlying purpose through a series of different roles and work in any series of short-term jobs that are maybe not identical with each other. So we move across industries, we move across companies, we move across organizations, but still contributes to skill building of specific attributes. So for example, I might be a really good salesperson. So I'm building my sales career on my marketing career, but going from industry to industry and moving across into different industries or different ways of doing things, different parts of the business, for example. And then last but not least is transitory careers. So transitory careers are very short term, and they're not, they're maybe I'll earn enough money on this job so as I can go and do a ski season, or so as I can go and do my photography hobby for the summer. So transitory careers are frequent job changes. Each task isn't similar to the one before. Work's not a primary motivation. Still a career, we're still working from job to job. And work is simply a means to earn enough money to go and do what they would rather be doing, and possibly perfecting if it's a hobby. And thank goodness for transitory careers, because we rely on them in hospitality, right? We need people who are happy with transitory careers for working short shifts, 0 hours contracts, that sort of thing. So we as hospitality have enough variety for everybody. It doesn't all have to be a linear or a straight line career. And I think that's a lot in our favour. And I think we should be, personally, I think we should use that a lot more to entice people into a career in hospitality. Hospitality is a career, not just a job. We have so many different varied types of career. But even these four, they're a little bit old-fashioned. They're a little bit traditional. And what's emerging now is this notion of what's called the Protean career. So Proteus in ancient Greek mythology, Proteus was literally the madman of the sea, or the old man of the sea, and he was the god of elusive sea change, and he's capable of assuming many forms. So the minute if you've had any sailing experience at all, the moment you think that you can trust the sea is the moment that you know that you really mustn't, because it changes. It can be calm one minute and extremely violent and volatile the next. So Protean has positive connotations of being able to be flexible and versatile and adaptable, and being able to change to suit the environment. So a Protean career is one that's driven by the person and not by the organisation. So if we're going for Protean careers, then maybe there's something in that says that HR people like myself and L&D people like myself have to change our notion of what a career is a little bit. Protean careers are driven by the person, not by the organisation. So they're shaped by the needs and goals and values of the individual, rather than by the traditional concepts of career or professional development. And so this is a much more emerging idea of a career. I would do the job to my values, to my to meet my needs, and it involves frequent changes of organisation. So we talk a lot about retention in hospitality. And I wonder if retention is what we need, or whether we need to open ourselves up a little bit more to accepting and developing Protean careers in a little bit more of a flexible way, for example. So frequent change of organisation, work setting, job content, instead of commitment to one organisation and line of work. So it changes the way we look at promotions and development and advancement in our own organisations, that those used to be linear, and now I question whether they are linear anymore, whether we move across instead of up, and that sort of thing. And people have a Protean career attitude of values driven, and they shape their careers according to their own internal values and beliefs, with self-directed and personally defined career goals. So a Protean career takes a bit of self-awareness, it takes some emotional intelligence, it takes some knowledge of ourselves and what we like, what our strengths are. So there's a lot of self-development wrapped up in being able to execute a Protean career well. So I think that gives me food for thought when I was doing this. So how well placed are we as an industry to accommodate Protean careers, and how relevant they are now in the world we find ourselves in now, post-COVID? and something, as I said before, that as an L&D practitioner I'm very aware of, and the fact that traditional career planning approaches may not be sustainable for us in the short term in our industry. And also generational. I'm not sure that my parents, for example, will have always been comfortable with my own protean career choices. And it's probably why I can't get a proper job now. So I didn't mean to do it, things just happened for me, but I'm not sure I'd cut the same lucky breaks today. So whatever your career model, let's spend some time looking at how to enhance our chances. So I just wanted to stop there and give you a little opportunity, if you want to, if you haven't downloaded the interactive part, if you photograph the QR code if you've got an iPhone, or go to ahaslides.com MIDAS November on MIDAS North for November, you'll get a chance in a minute to join in the interactive bit. So I had a question for you, really. That what's your favourite career model? Having a very quick look at all those different linear and steady state, spiral, transitory, protean. What's your favourite? That'll give me a minute to say hi, Howard. How are you? Who else have we got? Sadia. We've got some good people. Nice to see you. So vote for what's your favourite career model. Oh, that's interesting. How many votes have I got? 8 likes. 2 voters. Okay, any other voters? Are you able to look at that? You're getting the votes? We had 2 careers, first and second as a vote. Okay, good. So yeah, you can see that this non-linear way of developing our careers is becoming more and more current, more and more consistent for us, more and more relevant for us. And I think that poses some questions really for HR, for learning development, for career development, for senior managers, in terms of how you're using this movement of a more protean career, more values-driven career, for example, to help people develop their careers in your environments. And also as individuals, how much are we able to listen to our own values when we choose the next job, or when we choose our advancement in career. Thank you for that. Interesting that there's no linear career in those preferences. So the next thing to think about really is how to. So how do you develop a career? What are some of the tips? So we've got 8 top line ones, and we're going to look at those one at a time. So I think some practical things to do. 1 is to know your values. 2 is to set small goals frequently and regularly, which as we get to the end of the year is a great time to do them. Get some feedback. Read, research, and be curious about your industry. Curate your learning. I'll come on to that in a minute. Promote and support our industry and get involved. Just get involved, see how you can give back. Be active, be proactive within hospitality. Network, and always be listening to what's going on around you. And get involved in mentoring. So let me run through these one at a time. Please put any questions you like in the chat. We'll come back to them. And Chris, if you get them coming up, then you can always stop me and at a moment and tell me that there's some questions. So let's have a look at the first one, know your values. So this, I think, is really important. And values really became apparent at the beginning of the COVID crisis, I believe. I think we saw some organisations behaving incredibly well, and we saw some organisations behaving incredibly badly, and anywhere in between. So the values of organisations kind of came to the forefront. And I think it's really important to know your values, whether you're after a protean career or not. So just know your values, and the values are the things that you believe are important in the way that you live and work. They're important to be aware of as you build your hospitality career, because they determine your priorities. They also determine your fit with an organisation. They determine about how comfortable you're going to be. For example, what are your ideals and core beliefs are most important to you? For example, is sustainability a really important value? In which case you might find it hard to work in an organisation that was incredibly wasteful. What motivates you to work hard? If you're motivated by external rewards and and lots of external motivation, then that would be very difficult in an organisation where you were just a very small cog in a large wheel and you weren't really noticed. So you'll be most comfortable and you'll thrive most in a work environment that's compatible with your own values. If you're comfortable and thriving, then you're in a good place to facilitate other people to be the same. But you may find it difficult and stressful if you find yourself in a work situation or environment that conflicts with your values. So I think it's really important to know your values first and foremost. And that's, for me, that's first and foremost in terms of matching my job with my values. But as I say that, I need to kind of stress again that I have a protein career and not a proper job. It's 30 years ago since I had what my mother would call my proper job. So it's an idea, it's a concept, it's not necessarily advice. But I do think your values are important. So I've put together, and Chris is going to put this in the chat for you in a minute or as an attachment, I've put together a bit of an activity which is to identify your values. So what you'll find here, if you want to download it, is a document that gives you several, I don't know how many, 50 or 60 types of values. And the idea is you download the handout, go through, tick off the values that you think are important to you, and then narrow them down a bit so you can really identify your core values. And that's a really useful thing to be able to do. So we can put that in, we can attach that. Yeah, it's attached now. If you go into chat, Chris has kindly attached that for you. So there's a what are your values PDF, which is a document. And I've put that in just really for you to look at in your own time and to start. If you've never done any values work before, that's a really good start to identify them. You might be surprised at a few. Remember, they're your values. It doesn't matter if other people don't agree. Your values are your values. Be proud of them. Be clear about them. So if you want to download that, if you don't have time to download it, you can always contact us afterwards, and we'll email it onto you and make sure you get it. So that was number one: identify your values. The second one in our set of 8 is to set small goals regularly. And some of the kind of strategic questions, really key questions, to stop and ask yourself every now and again. Where am I now? What's my current reality? Am I happy? Am I in a place that I'm thriving? Am I in a place where, not necessarily a place of work, because it might just be the role and not the place, not the establishment. Where am I now? What's my current reality? How happy am I? What's my balance like? Are my values being crunched? Am I proud of where I'm working? Do I feel wholesome about going to work? Do I look forward to going to work? Where am I now? What's my current reality? Where do I want to be? And some aspirations and aims. Not in the long term. Oh, it depends on how you want to plan, but where do you want to be? What are you missing? What would you like to have more of? What would you like to know? How do I get there? What's my strategic plan? Do I need to network a bit more? Do I need to delegate a bit more? Do I need to read a bit more? How do I get there? And then going through, how am I doing? And I think the turn of the year, as the industry starts to recover, as we get through the Christmas period, for example, into rather slacker New Year period, to be setting some small goals regularly, thinking like, where am I going? Because it's your career, and you need to drive it. I've worked with many people whose career has been developed by people offering them one job after another, and I'm not sure that's a particularly good way of self-managing your career. It is your career. So where are you now? How do you find the answer to that? Well, you can do all sorts of things. Where are you now? You can do a skills scan. You can do some self-assessment activities. If you want to find your personal skills assessment, there's plenty of very good and free surveys and things on the internet. You could do a personal SWOT analysis. What are my strengths? What are my, I don't really like weaknesses. I don't really buy into the strengths and weaknesses argument, but it wouldn't be a SWOT analysis without the weaknesses. But I prefer to call them wobbly bits. What are the wobbly bits in my knowledge that I could, or my skills that I could do with boning up a bit on? What do I need to do? So, for example, at the beginning of COVID, I knew that one of my weaknesses was not being able to do remote classroom work. I had to learn very, very quickly. That was a massive weakness. So what are my weaknesses? What are the opportunities? Well, I could get really good at it. This could be part of my business. And what are the threats? So in terms of my own development, in your personal skills, do yourself a little SWOT analysis. What are you really good at? What are you really enjoying? What are your strengths? Because most of us are happiest when we're in jobs that play to our strengths. So you could ask for feedback. Feedback is a great thing to ask for. So I wanted to share with you the idea of asking for feedback using a JoHari window. So JoHari is called a JoHari window clearly only because it was put together by two guys called Joseph and Harry. And they did it on the back of a fag packet waiting for an aeroplane one day. And it's kind of been a timeless model. And the JoHari window was, I think, can't remember which was which, but one was a psychiatrist and the other one was a psychologist. And they were talking about self-awareness and before the days of emotional intelligence, but they were kind of talking about that the people that thrived the most in organizations were those that had the biggest arena of self-awareness. And they came up with some kind of interesting ideas. It says, if there are two people interacting with each other, or if you're a leader in a team, for example, there's two lots of interactions there. There's 4 different possibilities. So in this thing, the open arena, are things I know about myself and the things that other people also know about me. So my arena at the moment is I'm wearing a blue sweatshirt, I'm sitting here in front of you, I've got purple glasses on, I've put a bit of lipstick on because I'm out in public, and you can kind of see that I'm sitting in the office. And you know that I have closer relationships with, for example, Wallace and Chris. So those are the things that you know about me, and the things that I also know about myself. So that's the arena. That's what I am publicly sharing. There's a facade here. There are things that I know about myself that I haven't shared that you don't know. That they may be hidden skills. They may be things that I'm immensely capable of that you don't yet know that I'm capable of. Or they may be things that I'm not so nice to know. Or it might be things that I'm scared of, like I'm scared of heights, but you wouldn't necessarily know that. So those are things that I know about myself, but you don't know. But are useful to have feedback about. And then there's things that I don't know about myself that other people know. So if you've ever been in a situation where somebody tells you something and you say, oh God, really? Do I do that? Really? Oh, I never knew that about myself. Or if you've ever been videoed and caught yourself on video, or you've been photographed and you think, oh, I could really do with losing a bit of weight. Those sorts of things are your blind spot. And those are the things that other people can see in us. Other people laugh at, oh, Hilary always does that. I don't have a clue that people know that I always do, whatever that is. So our blind spots can be really useful ways to get some feedback. Because again, your blind spots can be really positive. They can be really unspoken skills or strengths that you just don't realize you have because you've always had them. And the minute someone says, do you know what, you're really good at this. Wow, I never knew that. I've never counted that in myself. And then, of course, there's a piece of all of us which is just unknown. Either it's in unconscious still, or it's unknown. And in some ways, that's our biggest potential. The stuff we haven't yet done, the stuff I haven't yet tried out in a career, the stuff I've never been conscious of yet, but I could really push myself and stretch myself to do. So getting some feedback is a really good way of helping to develop your career. And don't always get feedback from your immediate boss, because your immediate boss has got an agenda. Sometimes it's useful if it's about performance, and of course that's relevant. But if it's about career development, sometimes you can get the best feedback from an impartial person, which is kind of where mentoring comes in, which I'm going to come on to in a minute. So get some feedback from your colleagues, get some feedback from people around you. You get feedback, you don't always have to accept it, you don't have to own it, but it's always useful information. The fourth one is to read and be curious and research and be curious about the industry. Read reports, read the research that's going on. So I had a question for you, really, if you want to enter it on the screen through your phones. What are you reading at the moment? What's the best thing you've read recently? What are people reading right now? What are you looking at? What are you reading? Are you reading management books, leadership books, books on hospitality, recipe books? What are you reading? Or what's the best thing what you've learned about the industry lately? Share all of those things. Lean Startup, thanks. I know who that's from. Thanks, Chris. I've just borrowed it from Chris to read. Brilliant. So this is all about starting up new products and new businesses. How would you love that? Because it's lean, it's in a lean way. So we've got great conversations happening there about how we start up and start new products using lean principles. Chimp paradox, great, that's a good one. So in terms of understanding behavior, understanding where we come from, understanding where some of our behaviors and habitual sort of herd behaviors happen. Brilliant. So looking at what's hot, what people are reading, looking at, sort of like bestsellers, but best-selling, what people are reading. 1 Minute Manager, great. Looking at things like Harvard Business Review, looking at TED Talks, just being curious about our industry, looking at, for example, UK hospitality, following Kate Nichols, for example, caterer, following the caterer, following trade press, looking at what's going on around you, the best thing around the industry, being curious about either your leadership abilities, your management abilities, what's happening in the industry. Just being more and more curious about stuff is a great way to manage your career and to keep your career developing. Don't stand still, keep learning. Thank you for those. Okay. Number 5 I'd got was to curate your learning. I work in the field of learning development. If you came to us for a job, one of my first questions would be for you to show me how you track your learning. Because if you're going to be a learning and development professional in my team, I need to know how you're learning. What are you learning? How conscious are you that you're learning? So curate your learning, whether you keep a journal or a log or a couple of scraps of paper, back of a cigarette packet, whatever. Just curating your learning to look out and capture things like when you learn something for the first time that's new. And we've had 18 months of learning new stuff. Everything, pretty much everything we've touched in the last 18 months has been pretty new. I've done stuff that I'd never done before and would never have dreamed of doing pre-COVID. When you expand on what you've learned, so you do more, you learn more about something. When you act on something that you've learned, maybe you've read something and you apply it, so you're learning through application. When you solve problems, if you don't keep a record of how you solve problems, how are you going to remember how you solve that problem again? And when you need to learn a new way of doing things and changing skills, and we have to change the way we do things. So there's learning and change, huge amounts of learning and change, and that's all very developmental. So this career development is about developing ourselves in our careers, not just moving from job to job. I think it's a good idea to look out for opportunities, to spot opportunities coming up, to curate your learning. So to collect bits of learning so that they stick to you. Go out in a Velcro suit and get bits of learning to stick to you. You might attend a meeting, you might design some learning for other people, you might deliver some training yourself. You might attend some training, go on some training. You might observe colleagues doing stuff, think, oh, that's good, I'm going to do that. That's great. Wish I could do that. Being observed, getting some feedback, providing coaching for other people. So holding, I don't know, challenging conversations, coaching people, helping people to perform, getting witness testimonies and statements of something that you've done really well. Especially if you're on an apprenticeship path, this is all really fabulous evidence. But I think it's more than just going after a qualification. This is the stuff of life, that if we can collect some of these things and indulge yourself in some reflective writing, indulge yourself in some looking back and reflecting. And the reason for that is that reflective practice is one of the key principles in developing leaders. There are direct correlations between journal keeping and reflective practice and good leadership. So good leadership is about writing it up. So doing something, having an experience and thinking about what happened, what just happened then, what were the results? So what does that mean? How did I influence that? What did I do? Now, what will I do differently next time? And that, if you like, is a really useful spiral of learning so that you can keep on learning and learning and being able to prove that you keep some sort of record of reflective practice is going to stand you in good stead when you come to, I don't know, go to interviews, if you're going to be interviewed for another job, or just in terms of developing your career, because developing your career doesn't mean changing job. It just means carrying on developing in the job that you're doing, so you're ready for the next challenge. We get very used to descriptive writing in our jobs as managers, as team leaders, but reflective writing is a little bit different. It's a bit more about thoughts and feelings. So not so descriptors as to what happened and when and where and how, but keeping some kind of emotionally intelligent records of thoughts and feelings. And so, you know, why did that happen? I wonder how that happened. And so what does that mean for me? And reflective practices often start with sentence starters like, I found it difficult to do this for the first time. I think I improved on this. I really loved doing that. And I wondered what would have happened if I'd done this. So when times are tough, to do some positive reflective writing is a really useful thing to be able to do, because it uplifts your mood. The sixth one is to promote and support your industry. Put something back. So let's have some ideas of how you might promote and support the industry. What do you do currently to promote and support them? How do you stay in touch with what's going on out there? Maybe that's through particular charities, for example. Maybe that's through being ambassadors in particular organisations. What's going on out there? How are you promoting and supporting our industry? Because if we don't do it, and we're in industry professionals, who's going to do it? Who's going to support our industry and promote it to other people? Who's promoting it to school children? Who's promoting it to all those parents who don't want their kids to join hospitality? How do we overcome some of that stuff? So let's have some answers about how you promote and support your industry. There's the QR code again, just in case you missed it. If you haven't got an iPhone, you can go to ahaslides.com. Stroke MIDAS move. Schools and colleges, great. So getting out to schools and colleges. I try every quarter to get into a university or a school and do a talk on our industry, but actually they don't want to hear from me. I'm too old. They need to hear from some of you younger guys, sharing good stories, good stuff, attending and hosting events. Yeah, absolutely. Staying in touch. If you can attend and host events on your premises, asking people to come in, going out to schools and colleges, sharing the good news, absolutely, promoting and supporting, entering for awards, supporting Hospitality Action, supporting Springboard, being an ambassador for Springboard, liking stuff on social media, just supporting through Twitter or LinkedIn, supporting those good organisations that do so much to promote and support our industry, visiting venues, great stuff. Let's have a few more. Promoting and supporting industry. So Institute of Hospitality, for example, promoting and supporting their events, big conversations, all those sorts of things that are coming up. Careers fairs, exhibitions, uplift diverse voices, love it. Thank you for that, whoever that is. So where are we in terms of hearing those diverse voices? How are we actively going after them? Visiting venues, being a mentor, good. Being a mentor to whoever you can, somebody who's still a student, somebody who's in work, just somebody who's got a different job to you, be a mentor. Fantastic. Oh, we've got some in the chat, have we? Good. Observer Sunday Times, good. Observer Sunday Times was good. Offer to judge chefs and contests. Yeah, offer to be a judge. Volunteers for Back to the Floor. Volunteers for Back to the Floor. 5 on the 8th of April. We're welcome. Oh yeah, will you count me in, please, Wallace? So Back to the Floor on the 8th of April. Buy a ticket to Back to the Floor. Anything that you can do to support the industry, keep it going, make it public, make it fun, keep it going, keep it vibrant. So good stuff. So number 8, I'm going to come back to 7 in a minute. Number 8 is get involved in mentoring. I know I've missed 7, I'm going to come back to it. Number 8 is get involved in mentoring. So either by being mentored or by being a mentor, being a mentee or being a mentor. So if you're a mentor, you take on a protege or a mentee, take on somebody who's younger, who you can share some experiences with, or be mentored yourself. Mentoring is a great way to develop your career. In fact, that's really probably its primary purpose, is in career development, which is why it's sometimes helpful to find a mentor that's not your line manager. Because if it's about being mentored through the line, your line manager's got a vested interest in keeping you where you are. Obviously, they don't want to lose you. You're good at your job. So sometimes it can really be useful to have a mentor that's outside your work environment. So if you're in the hotel industry, then we've got a whole army of mentors just waiting to get going under our My Mentor scheme, so Master and Holders Mentor Program. So you can find out more about that by visiting the Master and Holders website. If you're not in a hotel, but if you're in wider hospitality, then the Institute of Hospitality also run a very good scheme called Mentor Me, and they also have details on their website, on the Institute of Hospitality website. So if you want to be mentored and you can't find the right avenue, then contact me offline and I'll do my best to put you in touch with someone who'll be able to help. So we have many mentors available through the My Mentor scheme. We would love to see some of you coming forward to be being mentored by us. But we do need, because we're Master and Holders, we do kind of need to look after our hotel people first, because that's our reason for being. So if you're listening to this and you're not in a hotel, but you're in hospitality, still get in touch and we'll put you onto Institute of Hospitality as well, and they will also be able to offer you a really good mentor. Now we're going to be talking about mentoring in our next podcast, and we're also going to be talking about mentoring in our next webinar. So that's a really good thing to be able to do. So that takes me back to number 7. See, I hadn't forgotten, but I just wanted to warm this one up a bit. So number 7 is networking. Network, network, and network. You can't do enough networking. Networking's never been easier than it is now, with social media, with different groups, with digital networking. In the old days, you had to actually go out somewhere and be there in person, but now networking is so easy. Get involved in as much as you can. So in terms of networking and what's coming up next, on Monday, November the 22nd, so that's 2 Mondays' time, at 4 o'clock, we've got a My Mentor panel exploring how to make the most of being mentored. So if you want to be a mentee, we'll take you through some of the experiences through the pairs of mentors and mentees to give you some hints and tips on how to do it and how to get the most out of mentoring. And then from Tuesday, we're doing a new Hotelier's Handbook podcast, which is all about mentoring. So that's Chris and me and you and together again doing a podcast, which we're looking forward to. And all you want to know about mentoring, what the concept is, how to be the best at it. And then if you want to do some proper serious grown-up networking, then join us on the 17th and 18th of January next year for the Master and Holders Conference. So it's the Hotel Leadership Conference, Bolder, Braver, Better at Park Plaza, London Riverbank. And that's probably the best bit of networking you'll do for the whole year. At the moment, we've got a 4 for 3 offer on tickets. So go to the Master and Holders website, and I think Laura is going to pop the website into the chat for you so that you can have a look there. So that was number 7, in case you're wondering where it had gone to. So that's my last word, really, to network, network, and network, and just never stop. Just look after your career and think about ways of developing it, because the better you develop your career, the better placed you are to help people develop theirs. So I think that's my last slide. So thank you for coming, but we've still got plenty of time to take questions, to ask if we can help at all. So I don't know, Chris, how are we doing for questions? And
sorry, I'm just being attacked by Ruby.
Oh, are you? Okay. Sorry, it's my dog.
No, I think we're good. We've had questions on mentoring, which we've covered, questions on networking, which I think has been covered. I've had a question about facing job loss and turning it around. I'm not sure. that's probably the only one that's not really been covered here, I think.
Thank you. I think facing job loss is a difficult one because it dents your confidence. But if you are facing job loss, now is the time to curate your learning, start to get a portfolio together, start to collect all the things you're really good at, start to collect all the things you've learned, and really actively do some activities to develop your career for the next move forward, and also to check your values, because sometimes when you're facing a job loss, you can get into a job that you've taken just for the sake of it, and then if it crunches your values, then it's fairly short term. So I think be really clear as you start looking for another job what your values are and how to match them up. And Wallace, I'd also say, if you want volunteers for Back to the Floor, would they contact you through the website?
Yeah, absolutely. Very happy to pass on details. I suspect anybody in the hotel industry may know about Back to the Floor. Of course, it was cancelled this year due to the pandemic, and probably last year, I think. So everybody's really looking forward to picking it up again in 2022.
Good. So we're starting to get out and do live networking again, and just have a bit of fun for a change. So it's getting easier. So yeah, if you want to volunteer on Back to the Floor, that would be good. Keep an eye on Hospitality Action, keep an eye on Master Inn Holders. Follow these people on Twitter. It's easy to do. So network as much as you possibly can. If you want a mentor, please get in touch. We'll try to do our best to find you the right organisation to find you on. Are there any other questions that we can answer, or other things that we can help to fill in today? So I think that's us done. It's getting dark outside. It's time to go and put some lights on. And we'll see you again, hopefully on the 22nd of November, which is a Monday. We've done a Monday this time. We've kind of gone for Mondays and Tuesdays on the basis that some places are closed on Mondays and Tuesdays, so we thought you might have a little bit more time. And we've gone for 4 o'clock because of the handover time of 3 o'clock. We thought you could maybe handle rotas a little bit more easily at 4. But if that doesn't suit you, just let us know. We're always open to suggestions for different ideas. Keep in touch. Follow us on LinkedIn and on Twitter. And we look forward to seeing you again on the 22nd. And thanks for joining us.